I'm joined with Christian Easterday from Hot Chili, and it's great timing to sit down and chat with you because in the last hour and a half, there's some information that came across that Donald Trump's now talking about 50% tariffs on copper. Price of copper is up. I think you just checked it on your phone. It's like 11%.
Yeah.
Now I know you're just processing this as I say it out loud. What's going through your head right now?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it was funny. I was making a prediction on the day two of the Rick Rule event where we are. That any disruption in a market so tight as copper was probably likely to send it to 550, 560, and we just checked and it's 555. So
We just had your moment.
yeah, exactly. So, volatility certainly to the upside in a super tight concentrate market on the physical. But I think that, yeah, very fresh, very exciting news.
So you guys just put out a pre-feasibility study on Costa Fuego and Hosco water. I don't know if I pronounced those right.
Wasco water, yes.
Wasco water. What can you tell us?
Look, both pre-feasibilities were a significant investment, a long time to get both the copper asset, our primary focus for what we're developing on the Chilean coastline, billion ton asset, 500,000,000 ton reserve. One of 5 projects that's gonna be scaled in the plus 100,000 ton per annum, metal production profile copper. So, it's a meaningful size project that's now got some really strong numbers backing it. And interestingly, you're talking about $5.55 per pound copper as we speak. And I was instantly looking to the leverage equation, and that's what our project has a lot of. It's probably one of the highest leverage, large scale, independent projects in the development pipeline at the moment. And so, that extra 50 cents that we just added in the last hour about 500 million US to our net present value after tax. So
That's not a bad lunch hour.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll let Donald Trump keep pressing the marketing button on behalf of the copper sector with interesting developments like that. We'll see how it plays out.
Now we got to ask. The market response to the pre-fees wasn't super
Yeah,
exciting. Why was that?
yeah. I think that at the beginning of the year, you saw probably more of a dissociation between equity prices in our space and where the copper price was. Funnily enough, we delivered our pre-feasibility on Costa Fuego and on Wasco Water at the same time as copper had actually hit $5.32 all-time high. So I guess now we're talking about a new all-time high again. So when we delivered that, it was also probably at the time where we had, unfortunately, one of our large institutional brokers in Australia unfortunately had to unwind a lot of its portfolio owing to a fairly large bet which went wrong on another stock. So we sort of worn a lot of selling out of that, unfortunately, and since then we've been gradually starting to move the share price in the right direction. But I think that what's going on with the copper prices is fantastic leverage to Chile, but it's what we're doing now that is going to shape what the last 2.5 years looks like. We're very focused on optimization phase for the pre-feasibility that was just put out, setting ourselves up for the bankable to start. We've had a great discovery at Leva earlier in the year.
Going to ask you about that. You guys just put out some exploration results on that. What can you tell us?
Yeah, look, a lot to like. It's over a kilometer long now. It's up to 800 meters wide. It's from surface, shallow cover, and some wide, very nice intersections. 100 meter, 0.7% copper, 0.3 gram per ton gold near surface. So that's looking very, very promising to add a lot more mine life to the project and give us access to some higher grade material in the front end open pit schedule. So that is it's almost like copper price. That leverage on mine life on a higher grade material coming in is very important for the economics, as is copper price. So that's an exciting new development. It looks like certainly a third sort of leg to this hot chili Costa Fuego stool has emerged. We think the system could be a lot larger. We've been doing a lot of exploration work on the footprint, and what we've identified is a cluster of 4 magnetic isolated footprints. One of them is discovered already in Leva. One of them has been detected with using 3D geochemistry, and we can see that sitting adjacent. And then two of them are covered by shallow gravel sequences. So we're looking forward to getting our teeth into that. Our regulatory application is in to allow for phase 2 drilling. We've completed 10,000 meters already. We see something that is growing quite materially to that 1 billion ton resource base. So nice to have that growth kicker going.
So, Christian, let me leave it with this. If you and I sit down here next year, Rule Symposium 2026, and I say to you, it's been a successful year, then what does that mean for you? What is it that Hot Chili would have accomplished in the previous 12 months, or put it differently, in the next 12 months?
Sure. Look, we would have a bankable underway. Best plans going forward. We'd have a bankable underway. We'd have a funding partner probably secured into the project. That's what we're dedicating a fair bit of our focus to, as I mentioned, while we're optimizing the pre-feasibility. We brought on a couple of very significant mine builders in our chairman, Stuart Matthews from Goldfields, and Alberto Cerda as a project director. So we would have Costa Fuego very much pushing towards that submission of an EIA next year, and that pathway towards project financing with the funding to do all of that program. We have probably the last stage of a major investment that's been 15 years in the making and is set to probably bring one of the largest independent producers on board. But if we're having this conversation in a year, that means that we're pursuing that pathway. But we're also noticing a huge amount of M&A in this part of the cycle. Often a lot of people are referring to this as maybe 5 o'clock in the lion selection clock. Perhaps it is, perhaps it's not.
Can you picture a scenario where Hot Chili gets bought out in the next year?
Look, we're seeing a lot of attention in the space, I would say. We're engaged with a lot of strategic discussions at the moment, covered under NDAs, and that's great to see that interest. But we're even seeing in the Australian market the recent transactions and takeover battles going on New World Resources with their Antler project in Arizona, with the recent transaction for Xanadu up in Mongolia, and even before that Rex Minerals. So a lot of transactions are starting to bubble to the surface in the space, and I think the buyer universe is very awake and active, and something like today just puts a lot of extra pressure on that. So yeah, we'll see how all of that plays out.
Look, I know you can't answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How much of a premium do you think it would take for you guys to get bought out if you were entertaining?
Look, we're not entertaining offers. So I'll make that clear. We're searching out an appropriate funding partner for the projects at asset level, and so that means our minds are around asset level valuations. And with an asset the size of Costa Fuego, whether it's on any metric you want to use, but P/NAV ratios of pre-feasibility projects tend to be at many multiples of market capitalization. So we don't tend to view premiums based in the market when there's dissociation between equity prices and copper price.
So in other words, we're not going to wake up tomorrow to see that you guys have been bought out for 18%, more than the current share price.
No. I think that we've got a great shareholder base, and a shareholder base that's supported the company and its long-term vision of what we're doing here. And I'm sure that it would require something out of that stratosphere anyway.
All right, well, Christian, thanks very much for hopping on. It's always a pleasure when we get to speak, and hopefully this time next year we'll be able to look back at the last year and you'll have lots of great stuff to report to us.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for your time.